Okay, so you went and bought yourself a handgun, and maybe you've been to the range a few times, put a few rounds through it now. Now it's time to learn how to take care of this baby. This is the basic maintenance and cleaning of a semi-automatic handgun coming up. Okay folks, so if you're a beginner, you've gotten your handgun, you've maybe enjoyed shooting it a few times, but now you really need to know how to keep it into perfect operating order for the long term. Cleaning your handgun is something you're going to do repeatedly. Now how often? That's a matter of debate. Some people will say anywhere between 200 and 500 rounds needs a good cleaning. Some people are really fanatical about it, and they clean it after every shooting. It's probably overkill. Lennie Magill of the Glock Store, he'll put thousands of rounds before he decides to sit down and clean his weapon because he hates cleaning his gun. A lot of us enjoy it. It's a chance to spend some time with the gun when we can't be on the range or shooting in some other location. But that controversy, you'll eventually come to your own conclusion on that. For me, it's around anywhere from probably around 500 rounds and I'm ready to clean my gun. But we're going to go over the basics. Now this is generic. We are going to be using the Taurus G2C. If you've seen a recent video of mine, review of this, I highly recommend it as a first-time weapon for people on a budget. Great gun. But we're going to use this as an example. But what we're going to be talking about today is going to be pretty generic. You're going to be able to apply these techniques on pretty much any semi-automatic handgun. So without too much further ado, let's get into it and clean our guns. So first we're going to talk about what the basic ingredients are to a gun cleaning kit. Now these kits are sold in as complete kits, and you'll be able to find them really inexpensively. If you go to Walmart, you'll find a gun cleaning kit for anywhere between $15 and $30, depending on how complete it's going to be. The thing that's important is you want to get a kit that is made for the caliber of weapon that you're going to be cleaning. So in this case, we've got the Taurus G2C. All of these accessories that we're going to be going over here are all designed for a 9mm, 357, or a 38 special. They can be used interchangeably for those calibers. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure we have a safe weapon. So we're going to remove the magazine and put that aside. Then what we need to do is field strip the weapon. Now this is going to vary depending on your weapon, so I want you to go to your owner's manual that you got with your new weapon, and it'll tell you exactly how to break it down into its components. We're going to do that with the Taurus G2C right now. It's very simple to do. I'm not going to go over it in too much detail here, but just field stripping means breaking it down into 4 basic components. It's the chassis, the recoil spring and guide rod, the barrel, and the slide. These are the 4 basic components of every semi-automatic handgun in field stripped mode: chassis, slide, barrel, and recoil spring mechanism. We're going to clean all of these, and to start with, what we're going to be using is a simple brush. See if you can see that there. But this is specifically made for guns. You don't need anything made specifically for guns for this part of the kit. This could be a toothbrush. I recommend a medium bristle toothbrush. You can go to The Dollar Tree store, probably buy a dozen of them for $1. But whatever, those are perfectly good. The advantage to this one is you do have the big brush on one end, and you have a little tiny one on the other end, and that'll get into some tinier spots. But not that critical. The big brush is going to do most of the job. And what we're going to do first is just go over all of the pieces and just brush them off. What this is going to do is loosen some of the bigger pieces of grit or grime that you might see on the firearm. So just a very basic going. Now with the slide, we're going to get into that and really get kind of aggressive brushing this down. Get into the holes for both the barrel and the recoil mechanism. Get in there and go down the slide, both sides, make sure you get in there. But all we're doing is kind of trying to loosen up any, down at the bottom of the slide, inside it, just anywhere, just loosen up any of the debris and dirt that's built up in the gun. All we're doing is loosening it up. This is more preparatory than it is. It's not really doing the cleaning itself, but it's getting it ready to be cleaned. Once you've done that, this is just what I've done now. It's not very complicated. That part's done. Now, so the first tool we've seen is our brush. We're going to use the brush. Now, let's go over quickly some of these other tools that are involved here. You're going to see a handle that's going to come with every kit. Now, this handle is actually made up of several pieces. There's an extension piece here that is just making the handle longer and making it so it'll go all the way through the barrel. This is going to be used for barrel cleaning and getting down inside the barrel. Generally speaking, this is going to be able to turn. It's going to twist around so that it can freely float through the barrel. So that's the handle. On the end of this handle, we're going to be pushing these swabs through the barrel, and we're going to be using them for cleaning the gun itself, inside, outside, all the way around. You're going to go through a mountain of these. Obviously, you can see these are nothing fancy. They're Q-tips, and they're really, really helpful. They'll help you get some dirt and grit out of some hard to get to places. So have a bunch of Q-tips too. Now on the end of the handle, we're going to be pushing the swabs through the barrel. Okay, so there are going to be two ways that you can do it. One of them is with a piece that looks like this, and it just screws onto the end of the handle, and you'll thread these swabs through it. Just like that. And then you'll just push it through. See how that is? You just push it through. That's one way to do it. However, there is another way, and I have a preference for it. These are called jags, and these will also go on the end of your handle. Just screw right in. And now that jag has got a pointy end that'll kind of go through the middle of the swab, and you'll push that down the barrel of the gun. And they are all sized for each caliber of handgun. So you're going to use the appropriate jag for the appropriate handgun, but it adds a little bit more pressure of the swab against the inside of the barrel. And I kind of have a preference for them, but both of them will work. They'll both get the job done, and you may wind up having a preference. Now, this is very traditional stuff. I think most people call it hoppies, some people call it hops, but this is bore cleaner, gun bore cleaner. So but it's used all over the gun. It's gun cleaner. And then you have gun oil. This is also hoppies, hoppies Elite. So it's really fancy. But these are also not expensive. None of this stuff is expensive. You can put together a terrific kit that'll maintain your weapon on the cheap. So please go after it and get it done. Okay? So what we're going to do to get started, I'm going to take the jag and put it on the end of the handle. And we're going to take our cleaner, and this is how I do it. I'm going to take a swab and just hold it over there and just get it good and wet. And now I'm going to put the jag into it. Take my barrel, and I'm just pushing the jag through just like that. It's going to be tight. Oop, we're already getting some dirt out of it. Once it goes through, you just want to do it once, and you can see how much dirt is on this one swab. It's really dirty. That one's done. Get another one. We're going to do it again. And what we're going to do is do this a few times until we push one through and we don't see any dirt coming out of it anymore. Actually, what we're going to do now is just let that sit, because what we've done is we've coated the inside of the barrel with cleaner, and we're going to let the cleaner kind of do its job for a little bit while we move on to some other components. Now we're doing the recoil spring assembly, and what we're going to do is, once again, get a swab wet and just run it around it. There's not going to be a lot on this. What I'll do is I'll put my thumb into the spring and run it down the spring. Just turn it around, and your thumb will follow the coils of the spring all the way down the and then do it to the, if you have two different sizes of spring, you can do it for both. A lot of guns will only have just the one spring going down, so it just depends on your model. But putting your thumb inside the coil of the spring, you'll wind up getting down to the rod itself, and just, that's done. That's a clean piece. We can put that aside. You can see that it did get some dirt off of that coil. So that one's done. And now what we're going to do is just what we've been doing with everything else. We're going to take a swab. I'm going to get it good and wet, and we're going to go down the edges of it, all through the inside of the chassis, and you're going to see a fair amount of buildup right in this area here. Right here, you're going to see a fair amount of buildup, and it'll come off quite easily, but go to work. You're going to want to get in the slides, just all through it. Now you don't have to get every last little speck of dirt out of the gun. That's not necessary. We're cleaning it and getting the buildup, and you can see how much. Look at how much that's already gotten off of there. There's a fair amount of buildup that happens, and you're not aware of it. It doesn't really, that kind of buildup doesn't really impede the use of your weapon, but it's there, and if you let it go long enough, it's going to ultimately maybe cause a malfunction, maybe cause a misfeed, maybe cause an ejection problem. So now again, we don't want this dripping in cleaner. You just want the swab damp, and that it's a solvent cleaner, so it's gonna do the job all by itself. Now I'm taking a dry swab now, and I'm going over the same areas that I just went over and wiping them down. So what this is doing is taking off any of the excess cleaner that I might have left behind, and letting that last bit of cleaner do its job too. Now you can see that we've gone a long way toward getting this cleaned up. There's much less dirt on this. So we've gotten a long way along the way. So Q-tips. Q-tips are going to allow you to get someplace that your finger, your big fat finger, can't get to. And you're going to see right now that even though we've cleaned this, when we get this digging into some kind of hidden areas that you can't really get to that well, it immediately starts picking up more dirt that you'd left behind. So these are important. The Q-tips are gonna do a good job for you, getting into those areas that you just can't get to with your big fat fingers. Even if you got small hands. I've got fairly small hands, but this is still, you can see how dirty these have become. Just put that in the dirty pile. Grab another one. Do it again. And all you're doing is finding those spots you just couldn't get to. Okay? This is actually pretty good. You don't have to go much further than that with this. Right back here. Yeah, we still got a little bit. You can actually pull off a little bit, the dirty part, and go back to it, and now your Q-tip is even smaller than it was before, and it still has some cleanability to it. Now, we're going to do this one more time. Now we're getting to the slide. Now I'm going to put this out of the way so we can really concentrate on the slide, because there's a lot of gunk on the slide, and you'll see that in a minute. Now the barrel is kind of still seeping with that cleaner, and we're going to see a tool that we're going to get back to on the barrel in just a minute, and we're going to go to work on that too. But the slide. So we've used the brush. Now we're going to use a pad, a swab. Get it, once again, get it wetted. And you're going to see a lot of stuff come out of that slide. The slide takes a beating. There's a lot of dirt in it. There's a lot of places to find the dirt. The ejector rod hole and the barrel hole at the very end of it. Get your finger in there, maybe a pinky. Pinky's a good size on a 9mm barrel hole. He does a pretty good job on the other. But look, already we have that's a mess. So on to the next one. As I told you, we're going to go through some of these swabs, so be prepared, have them around, because you're going to need them. You're going to really go after this. You're going to want to get into the rails of the slide, where this is the biggest metal to metal contact point, and we're going to see how we're going to relieve that pressure there in just a minute. But you want to make sure that those slides are good and cleaned out. We're going to get our trusty Q-tips to work in just a second. And inside, right on the front, where the firing pin's going to come out, you want to get that a good wipe down too. There's a bunch of dirt in there. So just giving it a good, now you're going to get your Q-tips again and get into those areas that you're not able to get to. This has a chamber indicator, and it moves, and that's actually helpful to get it out of the way and get the Q-tip beside it and get that cleaned off. But now back inside, we're going to go after those rails. The rails haven't really gotten to them. There's enough cleaner around it that the Q-tip's going to pick up the cleaner and go to work on the rails, but you will see them get very dirty very quickly. You can strip off a top part of it, go back into it again, and do it again. But I'd put a lot of concentration on the slides. But it's not the only thing. Getting down inside the slide, you can see starting to get less and less off of. There's still a fair amount, so we're going to go back in with another. Want to go inside the holes, give them a good workout. They're pretty good. They're getting there. Maybe one more time around with the other side of this one, and these should be good to go. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. And slide's looking pretty good. Now, we're going to get back to the barrel in just a second, but this is how I want you to lubricate the slide. On the grooves that are going to ride right along, right there on the chassis, you're going to ride right along those rails, okay? You're going to want to lubricate the grooves. And this is how I do it. It's really easy, and it really puts just kind of the right amount of lubricant on it. At the very top, these lubricant bottles will just, they control the amount of lubricant really well. So you're going to put a drop right at the top of the slide, and a drop on the other side, just at the top of the slide. Oh, got one side, didn't get the other. Okay. And what we're going to do is just stand that up, and we're going to let that just slide down with gravity. And that's going to do the job. We're going to put that aside and let it do its work. We're going to get back to the barrel. Now, the barrel has been cleaned, but now instead of the jag, I'm going to take the jag off, and I'm going to put the swab pusher on. It's just a little easier. The jag will be a really tight fit going down the barrel, but this is going to be a little easier and get the last bits. And you're going to put it right down through the barrel. And we can see that's actually, I'm going to actually bring it back through a couple of times because this is pretty darn clean. There's not a whole lot coming off on that. And it's, whoops, we knocked over our slide. That's okay. So now it's pretty clean. I don't really have to worry about it much more than that. But now what I want to do is take another clean one, get it wet, and we're going to do the outside of the barrel as well. The buildup of the dirt from shooting definitely builds up on the barrel, and you want to give this the outside of it a good wipe down. That opening right there, you want to give that some special attention. Get that cleaned out. And we want to get the dirt off of the... Now let's go back to our slide. I can see that the oil has gotten all the way down the slide. I'm going to wipe it off because all you need is a thin film of oil down that slide. And that's looking pretty good. Now I want to put just a tiny drop of oil see if you can see right in there, just where it's going to meet the slide, just a drop. Okay, there's a drop there, a drop there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is take a dry Q-tip and make sure that that's nice and lubricated right in there. We're clean. Now all we have to do is reassemble the gun, and we're going to start with the barrel. Put the barrel back in. Follow that up with the recoil spring assembly. Make sure that's all assembled. So those are 3 of your elements. Remember, a field strip is 4 elements: the chassis, the slide, the barrel, and the recoil spring assembly. And now we're going to put it back together, and it feels like a well-oiled machine. This feels nice. Very nice. That's cleaning. So that's it for this edition of 9mm Tuesday on Get on Target with Link. We're beginners, but we're getting better and better. Take care of your gun. It'll take care of you when it needs to. I hope this was useful to you. If it was, like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell when it comes up. We'll notify you when something else is coming down the pike. And until the next time we see you on Get on Target with Link, I will see you.